What's up, everybody? You are listening to Locked On Now NHL, local experts with the biggest stories on the ice. I'm your host, Daniella Bruce, and thank you for making Locked On Now your first listen every weekday. We've got our Locked On Now NHL host here to tell you everything you need to know from around the NHL on Tuesday. We begin in Boston, where the Hurricanes put on a scoring clinic against the Bruins in our best performance.
The best performance.
Hold up.
Tuukka Rask won in his return game to the Boston Bruins, but in his second start, didn't even make it to the end of the game as Carolina put 5 goals on the veteran goaltender. Locked On Hurricanes reviews the crowded box score post-game.
Hey there, hockey fans. Jared Ellis here, host of Locked On Hurricanes, and tonight we saw the Carolina Hurricanes absolutely dominate the Boston Bruins in Boston tonight. This was like a Lamborghini and a Prius street racing. And the Hurricanes beat the Bruins 7-1. They had a 5-goal first period. Jacob Slavin absolutely went off in his return game from COVID protocol. No signs of rust whatsoever. Jesperi Kotkaniemi also went off with 2 goals. Seth Jarvis, Vincent Trocheck, and the whole team was chipping in this game. Frederik Andersen also continued to look like the all-star that he is. But this is not the same Hurricanes team that the Bruins faced in the conference final and in the bubble in Toronto a couple years ago. It's a very different team, and the Hurricanes really proved it to the Bruins now and put the Bruins and the rest of the old guard on notice. The Hurricanes, they're coming for that top spot, and tune into Locked On Hurricanes to see where the Hurricanes will end up throughout the season.
The Boston Bruins took a beat down at home by giving up 5 unanswered to end the game against the Hurricanes. Locked On Bruins tells us why Boston fell apart at home.
On a night where the Boston Bruins finally honored Willie O'Ree by hanging his number 22 from the rafters, the Black and Gold put in arguably their worst effort of the season, being beaten by the Carolina Hurricanes on home ice by a score of 7-1. This is Ian McLaren, host of Locked On Boston Bruins. And yes, the Bruins did host an emotional ceremony for Willie O'Ree prior to this game. His number 22 was retired, and he was not able to participate in person due to concerns over traveling in the midst of the ongoing COVID pandemic. But it was an amazing ceremony where he appeared virtually from his home in San Diego. The Bruins then proceeded to be outscored 5-1 in the first period. Carolina added 2 more and just completely ran over the Bruins, who had been playing very well to begin the new year, but ran into one of the elite teams in the NHL at the moment, and a true Stanley Cup contender. So if this was a measuring stick for the Boston Bruins, they still have some work to do to be considered among the contenders this year. But it is only one game, and hopefully they can get back on track later on this week against the Washington Capitals. This is Ian McLaren. Please do subscribe to Locked On Boston Bruins.
The New York Islanders fought from behind in the third period and in a long shootout before eventually getting the best of the Flyers. After stealing a win in Philly, Locked On Islanders highlights the best performances of the night in the New York win.
Gil Martin of Locked On Islanders here. Islanders come away with a 4-3 shootout victory over the Philadelphia Flyers. And was it pretty? No. Did they play a consistent game? Absolutely not. But the beautiful thing is that this Islanders team showed resilience. They were down 3-2. They were playing poorly early in the third period. Didn't even have a shot for the first 9-10 minutes of the period, but they were persistent. Casey Cizikas comes up with the tying goal, and then in a shootout that seemed to go on forever, Semyon Varlamov came up big, and Oliver Wahlstrom pots the game winner. Look, good teams struggle to win games sometimes when they're not playing well, but they find a way. And the encouraging thing is that's what the Islanders did tonight. They got 4 out of a possible 4 points against the Flyers, and they're starting to put together some wins. It's not pretty, but there were reasons for optimism on Long Island. For more, listen to the Locked On Islanders podcast with me, Gil Martin, wherever you get podcasts.
The Philadelphia Flyers had plenty of chances to close the door on New York in the final stretch, but couldn't find a way to break through. Our Locked On Flyers host tells us why this home loss stings just a little bit more.
Hi, this is Rachel Donner with the Locked On Flyers podcast, bringing you your post-game quick reaction to that 4-3 shootout loss to the New York Islanders. It is a tough one to take, I got to tell you, knowing that the team played significantly better than in the previous night's matchup against the same New York Islanders. They played a more structurally sound game. They had strong games, I thought, from Travis Konechny, who seems to have his confidence back with a goal in each of the last two games. Oscar Lindblom has quietly put together a really nice string of complete performances. The captain, Claude Giroux, had a goal and an assist in this one. Justin Braun is out there blocking shots. Carter Hart made some incredible saves, I think, especially in the third period and overtime. He carried that team to the ninth round of a shootout as well. Nobody was able to break through against Varlamov. And I think it's this kind of loss that hurts a little bit more than the rest because it was a winnable game. The Flyers controlled the pace for a good chunk of the game, and there's a lot of positives to take away from it. But the Flyers are now at loss number 9 in a row with no wins yet in 2022. They're almost up to that 10-game losing streak that they had earlier in the season. So, yeah, this one definitely hurts. But for more on this game and the Flyers all season long, tune in to the Locked On Flyers podcast.
Coming up, the Predators lost their fourth straight game, and the Flames ended a 4-game skid of their own. This is Locked On Now NHL. It's a new year, so that means New Year's resolutions. And if yours is about getting fit or eating healthier, make sure you include Built Bar in your plan. Built Bar is the protein bar that tastes just like a candy bar, or maybe even better. Built Bars are covered in 100% real chocolate, and most Built Bars contain only 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, 4 net carbs, and 17 grams of protein. And there are so many different flavors to choose from: coconut almond, peanut butter brownie, raspberry, cookies and cream, salted caramel, mint brownie, and many more. In fact, Built is always coming out with new limited time flavors. So check them out at built.com to see what's new. Again, go to built.com. We have a special offer code for you. Use promo code LOCKED15 and get 15% off your order. Again, that's LOCKED15 for 15% off at built.com. Welcome back, everybody. I'm your host, Daniella Bruce, and thank you for making Locked On Now your first listen every weekday. Let's continue to bring in our Locked On host to recap everything from Tuesday night around the league.
Let's go around the league.
The Nashville Predators were the hottest team in hockey, but have now stumbled into a 4-game losing streak after dropping a game in Nashville to the Canucks. Our Locked On Predators host tries to figure out what has gone wrong as of late in Tennessee.
Well, after going 12-1-1, the Nashville Predators have suddenly lost 4 straight games. Hey, everybody, I'm Nick Morgan with Locked On Predators. Predators lose tonight 3-1 to the Vancouver Canucks in, let's be honest, was kind of a boring game. It just didn't seem to have that same energy we expected going into the game. The big story for the Predators, though, mistakes. The mistakes piled up and cost the Nashville Predators. On the first goal, you had a miscommunication between the defenders back there, led to a wide open rebound chance for Elias Pettersson. Then we had a couple of penalties lead to a power play goal that put the Vancouver Canucks ahead. And then just a bad goal from David Riddick that put the game away. Not to mention a couple of wide open chances that the Predators missed, like the Philip Forsberg 2-on-1 where he didn't shoot. Still not sure why. You kind of wonder if maybe the Predators are getting a little bit exhausted from the stretch. It kind of showed a little bit tonight. You also have to wonder how much of this is just not having Matthias Ekholm and Dante Fabro back there. I mean, those are 2 of your top 4 defensemen. You can kind of see the top 4 were a little bit out of sorts tonight. And that's kind of been the case for the last couple of losses too. So we'll see what happens next for the Predators. They got Winnipeg coming up, a big division rivalry. And then Detroit, who always plays Nashville tough. So these are going to be two critical games for the Predators to get back on track. We'll talk about it tomorrow morning on Locked On Predators.
The Calgary Flames had lost 4 games in a row, but hopes to have gotten things back on track after beating one of the best records in the league in the Florida Panthers Tuesday night. After a big win for Calgary, our Locked On Flames host recaps.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jess Belmosto, host of Locked On Calgary Flames, and the Flames are back in the win column after dropping 4 straight. They cooled down the red-hot Florida Panthers after a 5-1 win at the Saddle Dome, making their home record 5-4-4 this season. It was a huge game for Sean Monahan, who had 2 goals, and Johnny Gaudreau, who had 4 points, and it was a fantastic night for the second line. Mangiapane, Backlund, and Coleman, who I thought would have a fantastic night. They did exactly what they needed to do. They turned up the intensity, kept it going through all 3 periods, and came out on top with a 5-1 win. Jacob Markstrom looked fantastic and looked like a Vezina winner out there, and got all you could ask for. And Johnny will probably be a little bit banged up, so I wouldn't be surprised if he takes a maintenance day tomorrow or whenever the next practice is, because they don't play again until Saturday. Thank you all so much for tuning in to Locked On Flames.
The Dallas Stars scored 3 goals at home, but they weren't enough to beat the Canadiens, and Locked On Stars still called the loss embarrassing for Dallas. He was there and tells us more from the arena post-game.
The Dallas Stars once again playing down to their competition. What's up, everyone? Dane Lewis here with Locked On Stars, coming to you after the Stars' embarrassing 5-3 defeat at the hands of the Montreal Canadiens. Just an embarrassing night all around for the Stars on the special teams. Not a whole lot going for them on the power play until the very end. Joe Pavelski gets a power play goal with less than 2 minutes left in the game. The penalty kill struggling a little bit this game, giving up a shorthanded goal to the Canadiens. Jake Ottinger has a tough night, gets pulled for Braden Holtby about halfway through the 3rd period. Lots of weird, scrappy fights going on at the end. Tyler Seguin gets checked in the head. A few guys get tossed from the game. Just an ugly game all around. Not what you want to see from the Stars team as they now prepare to go on a 4-game road trip. Certainly also not what you want to see with teams like Nashville losing tonight, Winnipeg losing in tonight's matchup. The Stars had an opportunity to gain a little bit of traction in the Central Division, but they are unable to do so against an inferior opponent. We'll break it all down on tomorrow's episode of Locked On Stars, and we will see you there.
That's all for today's Locked On Now NHL. A big thank you to our Locked On NHL host for keeping us up to date with everything that happened in hockey on Tuesday. And thank you for making Locked On your first listen every weekday. Now that you're done here, head over to Locked On NHL or your local team's Locked On podcast. I'm Daniella Bruce, and this has been Locked On Now.